Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my mate Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at player props on a one-game slate on Thursday night here in the NBA. Not plenty to choose from, as I usually like to say, as we don't have anything but this game, Dallas at Detroit. We do break that one down for you as well in another video. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along as we're bringing you these videos each and every weekday, normally with more than one game to choose from. We also have these player props, and then today we are also going to be bringing you an MVP video a quarter or so away through the season, what we like and what we see from some of the top guys here and what their odds look like. So also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great content up there. Nate puts these picks up there as well. We also have our odds finder tool that you can use to make sure you're shopping those lines, get the best juice back on all those NBA bets and play props. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into your first prop in this Dallas-Detroit game.
Yeah, not too much to choose from, but I actually feel pretty confident about this first one. Spencer Dinwiddie over 16.5 points or maybe 21.5 assists with the points because I just think Luka needs a break for sure. We targeted him in the last game against Golden State, a huge game, and then this is, Dallas's easiest game for a while, to be sure. They got to go to New York, then they host the Suns, then they get Denver on a back-to-back, and then they get Milwaukee in their next 4 games after this. So Luka's obviously going to be carrying a huge load in order to be competitive in those ones. And on the road in general, he's kind of taken a step back. We talked about the difference in offensive rating, a few fewer points per game for Luka, and that's meant Dinwiddie picking up more slack, right? So on the road this year, 20.5 points for the man instead of 14.5 at home. He's shooting 57% from the floor, 50% from deep, hitting 3.5 threes. Loves facing those old Eastern Conference foes, has plenty of experience with that. 23 points per game and 5 assists per game his last 5 versus the East and his last 8 versus Detroit when he was with 3 different teams in this span. 18 points, 5 assists as well. I think you can bank on those numbers. I mean, Detroit is awful against point guards. They give up the second most points per game. And they probably won't have Jaden Ivey out there, which means a lot of playing time for Killian Hayes, who, as I like to say, cannot play in the NBA and was a terrible bust. So there you have it, Spencer Dinwiddie.
Spencer Dinwiddie fading Killian Hayes, as always, Nate Weitzer. I like it. I like Luka assists more right now. He gets the same amount on the road as at home. It's at 8.5, but this is a team that he's dimed up to the tune of 10 assists a game in the 5 times that he's played them in his career. So I think this is, like we said in the game video, I think this is a game that Luka's trying to have fun with and getting a bit more of those peripherals, which means more points for guys like Dinwiddie, who's clearly the second option on offense, especially when it's just he and Luka out there. So I'm going back to my guy, Bojan Bogdanovic. I got it correct. Sometimes I call him Bogey Bogdanovic, but he is Bojan. Over 18.5 points. I mean, dude, I just feel like he keeps getting disrespected. Like, the numbers are there for him without Cade. He's already averaging more than that on the season than the 18.5 there, close to 20 on the season. And without Cade, everything goes up. 22 points per game without him, 19 with him. His minutes go up by 3 a game from 30 to 33. He gets 3 more boards. He gets twice as many assists, and his usage rate goes up from 27% to 21%. So, like, all those numbers, I mean, I would be happy and if you wanted to start throwing other peripherals in there. He's got the ball. Not only is his usage rate up because he's shooting it way more, he's also got the peripherals because he's got the ball in his hands more, it's dribbling it more, and playing more of a point guard role when Cade is not out there. So you could take the assists as well. In his last 10, he's only failed to cover 18 or 19 points one time. And Dallas's defense, as we talk about too, is worse on the road. 10 points more a game than when they're at home. They allow 40.5% from 3 as well, which is really why I just take the points with Bogey. It's minus 110. He's going to hit a couple threes in there, get to the line a few times, and get those 20 points. So I just not even going to mess around with too many other factors in this game and just take the points for Bogey.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that he hasn't failed to cover this. Even when he had an abysmal game from efficiency standpoint in Phoenix, he got to 19 points, 5 turnovers, 9 for 21 from the floor. And the usage is what you're banking on here, because if Jaden Ivey's out as well, it's Bojan's team. He's expanded his game in terms of being able to score at the interior and mid-range levels too. So it's not like you just run him off the three-point line. He should be the main guy for Detroit tonight, but Marvin Bagley can also get buckets. Not that he's going to play great defense here, but I think, you look at his 3 games without Ivy this season, his points per game has gone up from 12 to 15. Usage has gone up from 19 to 24%, playing 5 more minutes per game. In his last 2, he's getting you 16 points, 8.5 boards since coming back from injury. And the props are juicy right here. 6.5 rebounds for plus 120. A double-double for Bagley, which he did 2 games ago against Cleveland, a really good rebounding team, plus 800. And Dallas is 29th in rebounding rate right now. Dallas giving up the 6th most points per game to power forwards. I mean, I think he can get 10 points for sure. It's a question, can he board up? And I think the Pistons, after getting embarrassed in their last game by the Knicks, getting out-rebounded by 21, will at least come out with a renewed effort on that end at home here. If there is any sort of positive messaging here, like, look, Bagley, I mean, he had 7 boards in that game in a blowout, even though he's like a negative 20. So, I mean, he's the guy who's supposed to grab these along with your guy, Beef Stew.
Yep, and that's what I'm going to talk about. We talked about both these guys, Bags and Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart. Really, the rebounds for both of them. I mean, it's not my favorite bet. The rebounds in this game isn't my initial thought process, right? Like, this is going to be maybe a little bit faster than you're expecting, but I still, the efficiency for Dallas on offense is oftentimes what you bank on when you're that team, is that you're not going to be taking bad shots, turning the ball over. Luka's going to get you wide open and things of that nature. But on the road especially, guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock are abysmal right now. Maxi Kleba shooting worse than 30% from 3, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Reggie Bullock, all shooting worse than that from 3. So there's the opportunity for rebounds. Beef Stew's at 7.5 right now. It's low because the last 2 games he's combined for 9 boards against the Knicks and against the Raptors. 2 good rebounding teams, especially on the defensive boards for both of these squads this season. The Knicks are allowing their opponents to get a bunch of rebounds, but in that game they had Mitchell Robinson back for the first time as well, which he was missing a bunch of games, which led to the poor rebounding stats for the Knicks. My point being, the games in which Beef Stew, I'm sorry, we're calling him Beef Stew. It's Isaiah Stewart, and that's the last time I'm saying Isaiah Stewart. It's Beef Stew. But in the games where he's playing teams that are not as good at rebounding, you see where there's some holes, like in Boston, where he had 9 boards and 10 boards in the last 2 games he played against them. No Rob Will. Obviously, we know where they're struggling down low a little bit more. Against OKC, same concept. Then you go to Cleveland. Cleveland, he only had 4 boards. Why? Because they're the best rebounding team in the league by far. And then you go back to Milwaukee, who you think they would be better at rebounding, but they're still like 15th or so. So my point is, if you're not a top 15, top 10 rebounding team, then Isaiah Stewart can work the boards a bit better. And that's such as the case against Dallas, who they stand right now as a pretty good rebound team. We know like they're in the top 15, but this is a situation where I think they're going to be playing faster on the road, and that's why there are more opportunities for boards for both Beef Stew and for Bags the third. So that is all the time we have for you in this one, Nate. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. We'll be back with a much fuller slate for you guys on Friday. And until we see you next, happy betting.